Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? Matt here from YoVideogames. I'm back again with another Summer Games Fest Playdays hands-on gameplay impression. And today I'm talking about a game that kind of got put on a lot of people's radar with some of the more recent videos, and that is Crimson Desert, the long in development single-player RPG from the Black Desert devs. And yeah, it's been a long road to get here. And I just kind of wanted to give you my hands-on thoughts and impressions, because I actually got to play the game for about an hour at Summer Games Fest Playdays, and I got to I'm basically going to be able to report back how does it look, feel, run, all that jazz. And as again, like a lot of people kind of got aware of this game because of some recent combat trailers, and it's like, wow, there's an amazing amount of things. There's some really flashy, cool things you can do with the game. And sort of a little background is this game originally began as, I don't know if it was a sequel or a spin-off to their MMO, but then early on in development they decided, hey, we want to make a single-player RPG. So they turned their attention towards making just the most crazy ambitious game, single-player RPG I've probably ever seen. In fact, that's probably going to be the running theme. This is the most ambitious game I think I might have ever seen. In the 8 years or so of development that this game's been in, they have created their own engine for the game because they wanted it to be a giant, massive open world. You know, something on the scale of their giant MMO. So you've got a massive open world that supports a ton of characters on screen, but not just that, a lot of different AI doing a lot of different things all at once. And they wanted to do it, you know, without the game chugging. And I will say this, to the game's credit, is that there is an insane amount of things going on screen with moving parts, moving characters, all interacting with each other. And the game is not chugging. The game is actually holding up. That is a big testament, I would say, to the optimization of this game in their own homegrown engine, is that it's actually coming together very nicely from a graphical standpoint. If there's any blemish, I would say, it's that it kind of strangely suffers from an issue that a lot of other modern day games have, especially on Unreal, and that is the lighting in the game can get kind of weird, especially with regarding like shadows and regarding, you know, darkness. A lot of my time was spent at night, and you get that really weird washed out look, both with like too much brightness and too much darkness, or going from one to the other. And yeah, it's got this really bizarre thing, because I feel like obviously they're kind of trying to do something a little more like, I don't know if it's like Nanite or if it's like ray tracing or whatever they're doing. They're doing something that's trying to be a little more realistic, on the fly, real-time lighting changes. And it's kind of like the sort of downfall of not using baked-in lighting, is sometimes you'll get these really weird moments. If you've played Final Fantasy Rebirth, 7 Rebirth, you know exactly what I'm talking about, with like the going in and out, indoor, outdoor, and stuff like that. And yeah, you get like really weird washed out or really weird crushed blacks on like the indoor stuff, or the nighttime stuff. So yeah, it can take a while to sort of like, oh, you got to spend a second readjusting the camera or whatever so you can see what's going on. That's my only real blemish, is that, and it's a very, very common modern day blemish on a lot of like big Unreal 5 and big modern day gamings, is that like going for the sort of AI driven lighting effects kind of make the thing look a little weird sometimes. But anyways, why is this game so ambitious? Let's get back to that. Because this game is like, if anyone had an idea, or if they saw some sort of cool gameplay gimmick, it feels like they wanted to add it into this game. Because again, it's open world with traversal mechanics and riding around on mountains mechanics. It's got like hovering and flying mechanics. It's got Spider-Man mechanics with a grapple that you can swing around and hook onto points. It's got a deep combat system. They wanted to really avoid making a Souls-like combat. I appreciate that greatly. They were much more inspired. They wanted to have a fighting game level of intricate combat system with the game, and there is a bunch of things you can do in combat. There's a lot, and a lot of different, you know. And then they also, for some reason, wanted to have Force Awakens physics-based force powers of lifting, swinging, pulling, doing stuff, you know, with magic and physics-based stuff as well, on top of everything else. And they all wanted it to work and function at the same time. And this has led to some weird control things with the game. Like, you might have heard it already coming out of Summer's Games Fest, and yeah, it's kind of true. I was able to adapt and do it, but I wouldn't say I necessarily would praise it. They basically have run out of buttons on the controller for things they want to do in this game. And so much of things you do that are really cool require an insane combination of button presses. So let me give you a perfect example of why there's maybe too many mechanics in this game. Now, the person playing with, I was playing this game on the last day, so they had gone through a lot of feedback, and I was stressed constantly, hey, we're jumping you into a save point further into the game. You will have gone through a tutorial. The game will explain this to you. You'll have had time in tutorial. Trust me, like the game will explain it to you. And I understand that. I understand there's going to be tutorials. You're going to slowly be taught how to do these things in the game. The tutorial is not the problem. Again, I adapted perfectly, fine and quickly enough. It's not the tutorial of the controls. It's the actual what you have to do to press to do the thing you want to do. Now, let me give you an example. As part of a quest line, you needed to go down to this outpost, this fortress. So we run down there. We get on horseback. We travel to the countryside. We see, by the way, beautiful game, absolutely gorgeous game. Open world, looks amazing. We get down there and we get to the front of this fortress where a battle is taking place. Bodies are kind of strewn all over, like they're like hung. Some of them are like hanging over the rails on a bridge or whatever. Anyways, we have to raise a banner, which is this big giant flag on a big giant wooden post. We have to raise the banner so that we can let the troops know that we've retaken the outpost and that the reinforcements can come to our aid, right? Simple MMO stuff, or just video game stuff in general. So, okay, we got to raise the flag. So the flag is on this big giant banner on the ground. So to raise the flag, you press L3 and R3 together at the same time. That enters force mode, which has like this sort of like big greenish slow-mo looking thing. So you enter this force mode. It looks almost like detective mode in Arkham games. Now you're in force mode. After you clicked in the two sticks, move and aim with the left and right stick close to the banner on the ground. Once you're close enough, you aim the reticule with the right stick onto the banner. And then you press square and X at the exact same time to force grab the banner. Now that you force grab the banner, you must mash X to lift the banner up into the air. So you mash X after grabbing it with square and X at the same time. Now that it's lifted up in the air, it's hovering in the air and you're holding it with your force powers. Now you press triangle and your character will grab the banner with his hands. Now you have the banner with your hands. Now you move with the left stick, walk over to the planter where you plant the banister up on this pedestal. So you walk up this pedestal. Then you aim with the right stick again into the center of the little pedestal where you put the banner. I keep saying banner. And you hold L1 and you press triangle and then you plant the flag in. So review: to pick up a flag and put it in a pot, you have to go to the flag, press L3, R3, aim at it, press square and X at the same time, then mash X, then press triangle, then walk with left stick, then aim with right stick into the pot, then press L1 plus triangle at the same time to put flag into the pot. Boom, you've put the flag, in the banister in the thing, and now people will come. You've completed that tiny part of your mission. Wow, just way too complicated. And then they even do this mechanic on a boss fight, which I did beat, by the way. So you fight a boss in the small room at the top of a tower, and the boss knocks down all these pillars as you're fighting him. So as you beat up the boss, you take out his stamina gauge, and the boss goes down on a knee. So he's taking a breather, right? So at that point, while the boss is knocked down after you've been fighting him, you then have to go or run over to a pillar, L3, R3, aim at the pillar, X plus square, mash X, press triangle, then aim at the boss or lock onto him, and then press R1 to swing the pillar at him, and that will actually do any significant damage to the boss in the middle of the fight. And you got to do this before he gets catches his breath and gets back up again. So this game is overly complicated. But as far as the combat goes, it is very cool. There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of buttons that do a lot of different stuff in the combat as well. Again, this is not Souls-like in any way, shape, or form. It's much closer to a character action game. And when you're in combat with enemies, you've got light attack, you got heavy attacks, you got magic attacks. But this, again, doing things is like swinging with R1, heavy attack with R2, R1, R2 together, triangle plus circle together does another big melee attack. Square plus X while you're engaged in combat does a grab. And then the grab is fun because you can like chuck the dudes pretty far. Like you've got like superhuman strength. So it's really fun to, in the middle of combat, grab a dude, chuck him into a burning fire, chuck him into like a spiked post and kill them that way. So... and you got parries and stuff, and the parries, once you get the timing down, it feels pretty good. So, and again, you're going to see large-scale battles with whole-ass armies of opposing factions fighting each other, and you're going to be running through the middle of this stuff. And there's going to be, yes, you can imbue your weapon with different magical properties. So you can do like fire, ice, earth, other things like that. You've got an arrow that you can like call in air raids. So you can get like different types of arrows. And one of them is like you shoot an arrow at the ground and it's basically a big flare, and then a big rain of catapult fire comes down and blows up everything around you. And the game somehow doesn't slow down too much or anything. So again, insanely ambitious. And if you're wondering, how do you do the Spider-Man stuff? Well, you press L3 and R3, so you go into your force powers mode or whatever, your detective mode, and then you aim at an object, and then you press, I believe it was R1 at anything, and he'll throw his grapple out. And then you can zip to something just to zip on top of it, or you can use the analog stick to swing around it like Spider-Man. But again, you have to like go into the mode initially, and yeah, you're gonna have to like on and off clicking L3, R3 at the same time on and off to go into this mode for this stuff. So yeah, the game has eyes bigger than its stomach. It's very cool to see a developer just go for it, like throw everything in the game, like the kitchen sink of game mentality. But the controls are kind of suffering from it because there's frankly not enough buttons to do what you want to do. And maybe, I know I even asked about it, is mouse and keyboard, maybe that's just something they were kind of like not really wanting to talk about. Maybe mouse and keyboard bindings would make this a little different. I don't really know. But this game is very cool, but like very, very, like, I don't want to say cumbersome, but very hard to wrap your head around. There's a lot you have to do. Just, even when you know what to do, even it's not even like, say memory's not an issue. It's not even about, can I remember what button does what? It's, oh my God, I have to press so many buttons to pick up a flag and put a flag down. So this is a weird game in that sense. It's very pretty. It's very ambitious. I think people who get into this game are going to have a really good time. I think if you're willing to like get into it and just sort of like, wrestle and wrangle these controls, I think there's a lot here. And I think people who are into this aesthetic and this sort of crazy, medieval European fantasy world, I think there's going to be a lot there for people who want to just like really dive in and get lost in this world. But the controls are daunting. There's a lot. There's a lot you can do, and there's a lot you have to do just to do simple tasks. So, yeah, I don't know. This game's an oddball one for me. I don't know how I feel about it in the end. There's part of me that's like I still want to be excited about it, but the other part is like, oh man, there's just so much you have to do and keep track of just to pick something up. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, and yeah, I'll see you on the channel later, dudes.